Hi everyone, in this video tutorial I'm going to show you how to make bar charts or column charts with an included target met line. Now this is basically a good way to show if performance within your department or team has been met. Now this is also good for printing out and sticking on a team notice board, right through to including these sorts of charts in end of month management summary reports. So what we're first going to do is look at a quick case study, then the data, and then our actual chart, which is here, and then recreate that chart. Okay, so let's get started. Right, we've got a case study where Peter wants to show his departmental's team's KPI performance for October versus the previous 6 months as part of the monthly senior management reports. Now the KPI for their department is the number of days to process application registrations for their software products. Now the target is 3 days. So basically any turnaround time for a particular month within 3 days is considered met. Right, so how can Peter do this? Okay, now folks, I've already created the final product here. And this is actually a chart picture, but for all intents and purposes, it's exactly what we're going to recreate. It's just, it's not linked to our actual table of data. And basically I wanted to show you the final product before we then recreate it. So as you can see in this chart picture, we've got our corresponding months of turnaround times, which is derived from this table here. So we've got October and then the previous 6 months, and then the turnaround time respectively for each month. And in addition to that, we've got this line here, which basically represents our target of 3 days. So anything within 3 days is considered met. So for example, April, July, August and October, for those months, the target was met since they're all within 3 days. However, for May, June and September, the target wasn't met. Right, so the main feature of this tutorial is how do we add this line? Now, on first glance, you might be thinking maybe this line has been added via the insert and shapes feature. Well, that is one way to do it. However, the method that we've chosen is slightly more flexible and doesn't require any additional moving of the line if your target changes. The method that we've chosen will do this automatically. Okay, so let's get started in recreating this chart here. So I'm just going to move this chart here. Right. Now, the first thing we need to do is to create our initial column chart. And to do that, you just select all your data, go to Insert, click Insert Column or Bar Chart, and then click Clustered Column. Right. So I'm just going to move this to the left and then just resize it to approximately get the same size. Okay. Right. Now the first thing we need to do is basically cosmetically match as many features as we can to our final product. So in this case, we want to first round our corners of our chart border. Okay, then we want to adjust the intensity of the bars. Right, now we want to add labels to our axes. So the quickest way to do that is to select your chart, hit the plus icon here, and then click Axes Titles. Right, so we call that days, and then this one is month. Right. And then we want to amend our chart title. Okay, so that is our initial round of cosmetic changes to match our final product. Right, now we're going to add our target line in. So how do we do this? Well, what we're going to do is add in another chart series from April to October with a value of 3. And what this will do is give us a second chart series in our clustered column chart, which we're then going to change to a line chart. So let's just take it in incremental steps. First of all, we're going to add in our second set of values. Now, the 3 is basically our target. Right. And then we're going to give this second column a title. Now, we will amend this later on, but just for now, we're going to call it target. Right. So now that we've got our second column of data, we're going to add this to our chart. So in essence, we're adding another chart series of data. Now, there are a couple of ways you can add it, folks, but the quickest way is just to click on your chart and with your mouse, just drag across. There. And as you can see, our second chart series has been added in, and we specified a value of 3. So as you can see, each bar is having the value of 3. Okay, now the key thing here is we need to change these bars to a line chart. So how do we do that? Well, what you need to do is click on the chart series, then right click and go change series chart type. Then in this section here, you've got series name and our 2 chart series is. Where it says target, under chart type, just click here and then select line. And as you can see, our preview's already reflecting what our final chart will be. And then just click OK. Right. Okay, so that is our target line, folks. Now, we need to add a legend to basically describe what this line means. So remember, folks, if you're using this chart in a presentation, for example, it's always important to clearly explain what certain elements are of a chart if they're not overly obvious. So to do that, we add a legend. So just click on your chart, click the plus icon and select legend. Now, folks, the turnaround time has also been included. You can leave this in if you want, but since it is fairly obvious from the chart title what the chart is showing, I'm going to take it out. So to do that, you just click once, then click again to specifically select turnaround time, and then press delete on your keyboard. There. Now, we want to move our legend to the bottom. So to do that, just click on your legend, right click and go format legend. And then under legend position, which is under legend options, click bottom. There. Okay, and the final thing we need to do, folks, is just amend our legend to include the actual value of the target, which is 3 days. And to do that, you have to go back to your column label here and just amend this. There. Okay. And the final thing we need to do, folks, is just to adjust the target color. So our final product here, I chose the color rose, and I'm going to duplicate it here now. There. Okay, so that's how you show targets met in column charts. Now, why is this more flexible than, for example, adding the line via the shapes feature in Microsoft Excel? Well, let me show you. Right. So what I'm going to do is just shift this chart picture slightly off screen. Okay. Now, let's say with our chart here that I wanted to resize it. Okay. Right. As you can see, I've made the chart much bigger, and our target line is still accurate in terms of it showing 3. Now, if we had done this manually by inserting the line using the shapes feature, we would have to manually adjust the line every time we resize the chart. Because it's just a line, folks, which has been inserted almost like a drawing over our chart. The method that we've done here, because it's actually a chart series, it's part of the chart, which means every time we adjust the chart, it will adjust accordingly. Now that's a huge benefit because it saves you a lot of time and fiddling around. Also, if we have to change our target, it's relatively easy to do because all we have to do is just input the new target here. So let's say I wanted to change our target to 4 days. Then you would simply change all the 3's here to 4. Now, if you were doing this via the insert shapes line method, you would have to move the line yourself again. And of course, there's always an element of human error. For example, you might forget on one instance to change the line, in which case then your chart will be rendered ineffective because it's not accurate. So this method is a real good way of actually adding a target line. And because of the fact that we're adding it as a chart series, it increases the flexibility in terms of you being able to adjust it, and naturally minimizes any human error that would be introduced if you manually had to change the target line yourself. Okay, so I'm just going to undo those changes. Right. Okay, so that's it, folks. That concludes our lecture. Thank you for listening and watching. Now, folks, just to mention one quick caveat about this method, and that is that ideally the target should be constant throughout the measured duration. The reason being is because if it's not, then the line can look a bit odd because it would vary then from month to month. So in this instance, from April to October, our target is constant because it's 3 days for each respective month. So that's just a small caveat there, folks, that visually the target line looks better if it's constant across your measured duration. Okay, so if you do have any questions or queries about anything that we covered in this tutorial, please do feel free to comment down below. And if you do like these types of videos, please do consider subscribing to the channel and turning on the notification bell. And this tutorial is also part of a playlist for Excel beginners charts. So if you're interested in learning about charts in Microsoft Excel, please do check out the playlist because it contains a lot of videos about Excel charts and it's specifically aimed at beginners. And also, similarly, if you want to learn more about Excel from a beginner's point of view, we also have a playlist which covers a lot of beginners topics in Microsoft Excel too. Okay, so thank you, and I will see you in the next tutorial, and have a great day.